Today's lesson is on graphing linear inequalities. So let's first talk about what those are. Graphing is what we've been doing on the y, we have the x-axis, and when we've been graphing a line, that's where the linear comes in, is the line. So we have been graphing linear equations. That means it was something like y equals mx plus b with an equals. But sometimes things aren't equal, as we learned about before. Sometimes we have inequalities. Sometimes we have greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to. And there's going to be a process where we graph these lines that are not equal, but some type of inequality. So we're going to understand our inequality symbols and what that means for our graph. So let's start here. The inequality symbol is less than. What we mean by that is we mean any point below the line. And if you look at my picture, I have the above the line marked for you and below the line marked for you. And so what we're going to do, just like we did on a number line when we did less than, we went below the number and we did this shading. Well, now we're going to shade on the coordinate plane. And remember also that when we did the graphing on the number line, we either had an open circle or sometimes we had a closed circle. So instead of circles now, what we are going to have and what we are doing is we're going to have either dotted lines or solid lines. So if something is less than a line, if it's all the points below the line, the less than part of it, right here, less than, means that it can't equal the line, but it has to be everything below the line. So we're going to be graphing the line like normal. We're going to make it dotted if it's less than and shade it below. We're going to make it solid if it's less than or equal to and shade it below. We're going to make it solid if it's greater than or equal to. And we're going to shade it above the line because it's everything greater than the line that are solutions. It's not just the line itself. Then we had just the plain greater than symbol, which will also mean we shade above the line. So you can use this as a reference to know what each symbol means. So instead of it being y equals 2x minus 1, for instance, now we're going to have y and we're going to have some kind of inequality. This one, for instance, means everything below or equal to this line. So we would graph the line, we'd end up making it solid, and we'd end up shading below that line. And that's what this page here is there for you to reference back. What am I going to do with the line? Am I going to dot it? Or am I going to make it a solid line? And am I going to shade above it or below it? So you can use this page in your notes, the pictures that I gave you in your notes, as a reference. So let's look at this one for instance. Here is an example of exactly what your work is going to look like and what you are practicing. The only difference in this equation and the ones before is it doesn't say equal to anymore. So we have a less than line. So if I went back here and I found my less than symbol, I would see that I'm going to make a dotted line and shade below it. So I'm going to graph this line just like I did before. I'm going to begin at 2 because that is the y-intercept. Remember, it's mx plus b. This time, though, it's y less than that. So b is where it crosses the y line, and that is at the number 2. Then the slope is rise over run. So I'm going to rise 1 and run 4. Now I am going to go the other direction too. And so I'm going to go down 1 and over 4. And before we go ahead and draw a solid line going uphill because the slope is positive, we now have to pay attention to the inequality symbol, and it's less than. It does not have an equal to on it. So when I draw my line this time, I'm just going to dash it along the way. I'm not going to make it solid. I'm going to leave some I'm going to make it with dashes. And then I'm going to shade below the line, underneath the line. And what this means is that the answers to this inequality are all these ordered pairs that I'm shading. So for instance, 2, -2, right here in the yellow. That is a solution to this inequality. But anything up here, like 1, 5 right there, that is not a solution to this inequality because it's above the line. We want all the points below the line, but we don't want to include the line because we do not have our equal to part. We only want things less than the line, not equal to it. And we can reference back these pictures that will help us know what type of inequality we will have and what that means after we have made the points for our line. So in this one, we're not going to do it any differently than before when it comes to graphing the actual line. This here is where it crosses the y-axis. So I put a dot at -2. Here is my slope. My line's going to be going downhill because my slope is negative. But I'm going to do the pattern of down 1 over 2. And I'm going to keep doing that pattern. I'm going to go in the other direction as well. And my line is going to go downhill. Well, look right here at this. This is less than or equal to. And back on your chart, you will see that that means I need to draw my line solid. And again, this is a less than symbol. So it's everything that needs to be shaded below this line. So not only do we have the line to deal with now, we have to choose some shading because it is not equal only to the line. It's everything below the line as well. Here's another one. Again, we graph it like we've graphed all our other lines in this unit. Beginning at the number 4 on the y-axis. Positive slopes. It's going to be going uphill. So up 1 over 3. Up 1 over 3. I can go in the same direction the other way. This time, when you look at your symbol, it does not have equal to on it. It's greater than the line. So this is another case where we don't draw a solid line. We put dashes for our line instead. And greater than, if you look back at your chart, means to shade it above the line. So over the line. So it's everything up here, nothing below it. So any of these ordered pairs in this shaded area are okay, and any of them down here, such as 2, let's do 3, -2, right there. That point right there, not okay, because it is not in the shaded part. It's not a solution to our inequality. Has to fall in the shaded area. Here's another example. Y greater than or equal to 4x minus 6. Here is my y-intercept. So I am going to put a dot at negative 6. This 4 is my slope. It's a whole number. Every whole number can be written with... I'm not quite sure what happened to that audio, but I think I hit something wrong, so I don't know where it's left off. So I've just looked and seen that my y-intercept is negative 6 and put a dot there. I'm looking at the slope, that's a whole number, and so it should be 4, and I can put a 1 underneath there. And then I can come over and do my rise over run. It's a positive slope, so it's going uphill. I'm going to rise 4 lines and run over 1. Because I have greater than or equal to, if you look back at the very first information that I gave you, because it says the equal to part is now going to be a solid line. And because it is greater than, I'm going to shade above the line. So all of this part I'm shading are answers to this problem, all the ordered pairs that are there. The ones on the other side are not. Okay, here is another example. Y is greater than or equal to negative 3/5 x plus 5. Again, we begin on our y line. Our y-intercept is 5. Our slope is negative. That means our line needs to be going downhill. So the rise is down 3. Then I'm going to run over 5. I can do that the other direction too as well. But it takes me off my graph, so I'm not going to worry about that. Greater than or equal to. It's got the equal to part, so it is a solid line. And I'm doing my shading above that line because it was greater than above. And you can go back to the original chart that we started the lesson with, and it will help you know when to dash or dot your line, when to shade above, and when to shade below. One more example. Y less than negative 2x plus 3. I'm going to go ahead and put a 1 under that whole number, so that will help me when I'm graphing. I begin my graph at 3 on the y-axis. Then I am going to do my downhill line because my slope is negative. I'm going to keep doing the pattern of going down 2 and over 1. I'm going to go in the other direction. Dash or dot my line. This straw dash is not solid. And shade below the line because it's less than. So when you're graphing an inequality, the differences that you have to think about are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. When should my line be dashed? When should my line be solid? And should I shade above that line? Or should I shade below the line? And you can use that chart from the beginning to make those decisions. Sorry about the mess up in the middle, but I hope this video has helped you understand graphing inequalities.